is the eviction process broken? Today I'm joined by Mark Grundher, who is Director of Ben & Reeves, big in the game letting agent in London. Mark, talk to me about the eviction process of tenants in the UK.
So let's be honest, if you aren't a landlord and you've never had to evict a tenant, you'd have no idea what a terrible process it is. The courts are grossly under-resourced and grossly oversubscribed in jobs they have coming. It takes months, if not over a year, to evict a tenant, even if you have all your paperwork set up correctly, because the hoops you have to go through is quite difficult. And the government is ending Section 21, which is fine. That was under Conservatives and now going to be under Labour. They're saying end of Section 21. Again, being in the industry, I've got no problem if a tenant wants to stay 10, 20, 30 years, so long as I can get my property back. And I get my property back if I want to live in it, or my daughter wants to live in it, or I want to sell it. As long as I can get it back, why would I care, as long as I'm getting a right rent to have someone live there for a long term? That's brilliant, and I agree with that. What I don't agree with is that the Labour are coming in and saying we're going to bring it in, we're going to get rid of Section 21s. And what they don't look at is what a nightmare situation it is to evict. Tenants not paying rent, the process of chasing up defaulting tenants who don't pay their rent is pretty terrible. Most landlords are advised by lawyers just to write off that money and forget about it and be happy with your property back. But if they're paying a mortgage, on the other hand, and it's an investment, why should they write it off? Number one is that. Number two, it takes forever to get to court. Even when you get to court, even if you get possession on that day, and the tenant doesn't go 14 days later, because it's usually going 14 days, you have to go and get a bailiff. How long is it taking to get bailiff? 3 months, 6 months in some cases. We had a situation last year for a client that actually wasn't our tenant because they found the tenant themselves. They got the possession notice on the 15th of February 2023, and the bailiff came on the 15th of January to actually evict the tenant. 11 months to the day to get them out, and the tenant hadn't paid rent in 11 months. And the point is, it's not just about the money, it's about the system has to be there. And if it is creaking at the seams, we should have housing courts. Why would we not have a housing tribunal where you have little bodies, maybe have a judge or legally trained, and maybe a body of a lawyer or an estate agent or someone with licensing we talked about, someone who understands how the market works, and have that kind of body. The rent's not paid, it's not a problem with the landlord doing something. We want the tenant out, and you should be able to get them out quickly. You should be able to get to court and get them out quickly. It's ridiculous at the moment, and it's really broken.
Would it interest you that you said that landlord had found the tenant themselves? You might not know this, you might know this, I don't know, but if a landlord finds the tenant themselves and not go through a letting agent, they are 272.5% more likely to be 2 months in arrears or more.
I'm not surprised, of course. Because
tenants are more likely to, they know damn well the landlord's not going to do so many checks.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great advert, or a great, for people using letting agents, because you can spot. I mean, I had one of the CEOs of one of the biggest referencing firms, and I said, how many references, where someone's not whiter than white? And he says, well, it isn't black and white, there's a lot of grey.
Yeah.
1 in 6 where the numbers have been stretched a bit.
100%.
I mean, and in that 1 in 6, there's absolute total fraud, and then there's a little bit of stretching of the truth. But it obviously shows that if you go solo and do it yourself, you're going to be in
real trouble. Oh, let me tell you something interesting. So we use a very, very small referencing agency that is 2 ladies who used to be agents, set it up working from home, and now they have about 15 people working from home for them. We use them exclusively for all our referencing. And can you believe we get 1 forged passport a month? We get 1 set of forged bank statements a week of people trying to rent from us. We had a case last year, the end of last year, where the tenant had a reference from Shell Oil. The crook had made up a website that was shelloillimited.com and had it on there. And this person, we picked up on them. What we found out subsequently is they went and rented through another large agent using a large referencing agency that clearly you can't check this unless you have someone small do it. And so for an agency perspective like ourselves, I'd rather miss out on a tenant I think is slightly dubious. But a lot of people, it's about the volume. They'd rather do 10,000 tenancies, and okay, if they have 5% go wrong, 5% go wrong, we can cover that within compliance. We don't want any going wrong. So we're very, very, very careful.
Just shows that if you've got a letting agent that cares, that goes extra mile, then you're more likely to have a great property that produces income.
Yeah.
It's not going to have all these issues,
No.
including the problem with evictions. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.